Hi, I'm Bill Warren. In this video, I'm going to go over a checklist of everything I recommend you do or consider to set up a COVID-safe ventilation system for a isolation bedroom for someone who is being isolated or quarantined with COVID-19. And specifically, we're going to be looking at how do we keep the aerosol production, which increasingly science is telling us is that is a major form of transmission. These very lightweight particles that we breathe out, and they stay in the air and fly. So the method that we are going to use to do this, my recommended method, is that we're going to use a window exhaust fan to pull air out of this bedroom and keep it actually depressurized, particularly when the door is closed. And that's what we're going to be working on right now. So let's start. Oh, by the way, I have other videos that go much more detail about why we're doing something or other. In this video, we're going to try to stay on task and get to the items that need to be said in terms of the sequence. Let's go. At the top of my list is closing off supply and return air registers in the isolation bedroom. This one is so important that I have a separate video just on this subject. It really is problematic. We solve it by closing off the vents, covering them over with tape. It will make this room harder to heat in the wintertime when it's cold outside and harder to cool in the summertime. But it's essential because this air that discharges out of here will mix with contaminated air and find its way back to the house one way or another. So we don't do this. Okay, we're going to be taping off the vents, harder to heat and cool. So the straightforward recommendation for the colder your climate, the hotter your climate, the more you want to pick a bedroom with very little windows. That's going to make it more difficult to keep it comfortable. On the other hand, it would be nice, as in this case here, you have an adjacent bath, so the containment area could be bedroom bath for the isolated person. Disclosure, we're just finishing remodeling our bathroom, so it's not all done yet, so it looks a little rough. Let's go look at the bath and see what the advantages are of using this. So in the attached bath, if you've got an exhaust fan, you can use it as part of your depressurization strategy. What you want to make sure is the fan is actually pulling air out of it. You can see that I've got tissue up here and it holds up. That's what you want to see. If you've got that, then the recommendation is run the bath fan continuously in the containment area. The window, on the other hand, any other windows in the isolation bedroom and or attached bath, we want them closed. We want only one window open, and that is with the window exhaust fan in it. Okay, here's the heart of our system. We have a window fan set up to exhaust air from the room. Airflow is blowing out. Oh, that one right there. That's going to pull all this air, any COVID contaminated aerosol air, directly out of the room and get rid of it. I have a whole video on window fan installs in isolation bedrooms. Look at that for details. The additional element that we want to do to get rid of contaminated air is to use a room air cleaner with a HEPA quality filter. Place this not close to this, but farther away in the room to give you even better coverage of removal. Okay, with our fan set up, now we want to check the door to make sure that the air is coming in, not going out. We'll do that dramatically so you can see it on the video with a little dry ice and a cup of water. Oh, by the way, you can see the camera right there. So, when the door's wide open, you can't see flow very well because the opening is so wide. But as we start to close the door, the airflow will become more and more apparent. Good velocity of airflow coming in. Put it out there. I hope I got it up high enough. There you go. Exactly what we want. Thank you, Mr. Science Guy, Bill Nye. Here's another way you can check for pressure. I've taken a little strip of paper so you can see it, and you can see that that paper is dancing there. A little bit of tissue paper. Other way to do it is with your hand. Just feel for the airflow. This way, on the palm, not so good. This way, better. Lick your hand, that's my specialty. Then you can really feel low airflow amounts with that. One tool you might want to think about getting is a smoke pencil. Makes nice smoke, about $60 on Amazon. Cirrus wind indicator. It's particularly good to use this on the outside. This light here isn't really great for showing this, but our smoke is coming in. It works very good when you're going from the hall side because you see the smoke going away from you. Check the door when it's closed, and make sure everything is depressurized within the isolation room. Good idea. All right, with our window exhaust running in our isolation bedroom, that air that's leaving, every cubic foot has got to be made up by air coming in someplace else. With everything closed and the windows and doors, it's going to come in the nooks and the crannies. It's actually good if you know where the air is coming in. So in mild weather, you could just open another window, and I get plenty of flow coming in now to make up that flow right there. Mild weather, it works. This also is problematic if you're concerned with outdoor allergens, perhaps. With our isolation bedroom depressurized, we don't want another exhaust fan, such as the dryer or the kitchen range hood, to come on, because those are large exhaust fans. Typical dryers move about 200 cubic feet of air per minute out. That amount of airflow, particularly if you maybe combine it with a range hood, and mine pulls about 300 CFM of air, could overcome the depressurization that we have in the isolation bedroom. So when you're running other fans, particularly dryer, range hood, best thing is open a nearby window. Path of least resistance keeps our depressurization mode in the isolation bedroom right where we want it. This is the central return for my house. Air is being pulled back to the heat pump or the furnace. Having good filtration, maintain the filters. If you have UV lights, they'll work as well. But my point here is that neither whole house filters or UV lights are a primary control mechanism, because contaminated air would already have to get here down my hallway and to this spot before either one of those devices would work. So you really need the other measures, particularly window depressurization, containment, isolation bedroom. Next is an item that I think is very important, and that is to maintain continuous air circulation in the house and any other type of buildings. I suspect that some of these super spreader events are happening in buildings where they're just not running any air circulation. How we do it in the house, we want to use the furnace or the heat pump. We go to the thermostat, we go to the fan settings. We don't put it in the auto mode, we put it in the on mode. And that means the fan will be running 24/7. Even though that is more energy intensive, I think in the days of COVID, this is what we want, because it will dilute the dose. And particularly if we're not having an isolation situation, but we don't know when somebody does have COVID and is releasing aerosols, this will give us our best line of defense in that situation. Similarly, using a ceiling fan to do air circulation within the isolation bedroom is fine. Elsewhere, also fine. Our room air cleaners are fan systems, so they're doing air circulation as well as removal by filtration. That's all good. The one fan I'm concerned about is a whole house fan, because in that situation, the exhaust is from a central point up on the going into the attic, and that'll pull air in, and I just don't want that to be pulling air in from a COVID isolation bedroom. Okay, what's our checklist for comfort control? First off, I think a slow fan speed is essential for a really cold or hot climate. That's why I like the 2-fan setup. I've even taped off one fan to get the flow down to the point where it's probably only 1 or 2 bathroom exhaust fans, maybe 150 CFM going out of there. One other point that to be able to establish here is that as this air leaves, it's being made up elsewhere, and so it's those locations that will likely be made more uncomfortable for this exhaust airflow. By the time that air gets here, it's going to be conditioned and they're not going to feel it in this room. What they are going to feel is if there's any spill on this fan. That's why I taped it in. We don't want any air leakage coming in. We do not want to open up any other windows in here, because that was going to make this room get really cold. And it's going to get really hard to condition in here because we've done the taping off of the supply air registers and the return air registers. So when we've done that, that's why the recommendation is use a bedroom with very few windows in it and very few supply and return registers in it. Easier to keep that conditioned. If you're having problems, you can pull the drapes, and then you can add a space heater, or if need be in the summertime, and I don't think that it's going to be too often, you might get a small 5,000 BTU window air conditioning unit and install it in another window in here, but then you would seal it all the way around, similar to this right here. And that's going to give you the best control. Ceiling fans in the summertime will also be beneficial, probably not in the wintertime. Our last checklist item is outdoor allergen control. When we're running a fan as exhaust in an isolation bedroom, that air is going out, air is being brought in elsewhere. If you're sensitive to outdoor allergies, you'll be bringing those in. So what are our strategies and checklist items here? Again, it's run the fan speed as slow as possible. That's our primary defense. If you find that it's still something that you're concerned about, our next step up after that, it's a little limited, but what we would go then with is another window fan setup with a HEPA quality MERV 13 filter on it. But in this case here, we would have the filter so that it is pulling air, it'd be on the outside, and we turn the fan to blow air in. So we'd be blowing all the air through a MERV 13 filter. The fan would be tightly sealed in the opening, and that works in mild climates, but it will be fairly challenging and really cold climates to do that. The one benefit though is that many outdoor allergens such as pollens and so forth are not what we see too much in the wintertime. So I'll do a video on comfort and allergen control elsewhere, and we'll get into that a little bit more, and I'll show you how you can do that. Well, that's it for this video. I've brought to you a checklist of everything I think you could do in as shorter fashion possible to give you a full roadmap of how you can set up effective window exhaust fan depressurization, isolation bedroom, all air being contained in here, no air going, no contaminated air going back and putting other people at risk in the house. That's it for now.